Shalom, shalom. It's your brother PJ. Back again with another lesson. And this one we're going to be going over the Adoration of the Magi, which basically this is a series of different paintings and different artworks that were made throughout the 1300s to about the 1800s. And they were depicted of different rulership, kings and queens throughout the different countries in Europe. And so this is just going to be part one of this series. And so we're going to be going over 3 different kings. I'm going to try to keep this video kind of short, just a little short run through. And the first king we're going to be talking about is Ludovico il Moro, the Black King of Milan, the Duke of Milan, 1452 to 1508. And when you look at the picture, the historical context of the picture, what we're talking about, this picture was created in 1485 by Brazzone, an Italian artist that was active in Milan at the time. If you look at the central key figure, that's what we're talking about, is Il Moro, the Black King, the ruler of Milan. Rise to power. When Sforza assumed the regency of Milan, her underage son, Gian Galazzo Marie Sforza, a fierce power struggle ensued. Ludovico Sforza, Gian's uncle, was determined to assume the power after his brother Galeazzo Maria's assassination. This came to fruition in 1480, when Ludovico assumed the regency for his nephew, Gian. As a young duke, Gian grew older, and he was nearing the age where he would become the sole ruler of Milan. Ludovico had no intentions of relinquishing his power in Milan, and it is suggested he ordered the poisoning of the young duke. Gian died in 1494 at the young age of 25. From this time, Ludovico reigned as the Duke of Milan. Histories are that they are intentionally downplayed that in so-called Western world include those of the Moors. The Moors serve as a reminder of a part of European history many would prefer to forget. It is a story of dark conquerors who are followers of the Prophet Muhammad, and most notably a feature of the Moors that they were pitch black complexion owning to their name. Historical quote, Ludovico used to have the Moor's head painted in some insignias with the bandage tied on it, the forehead, and it kept various Moors among his servant staff. As it is seen in an historical record above, it is preferable today to suggest that his name is associated with his servitude. More specifically, it is suggested that Ludovico has displayed a Moor's head as his sign because he retained black servants. There is an abundance of these trivialized racial explanations that simply serve as deterrents to proper understanding. So just to give a little detail into that, and that's just like I was saying in the video prior before in other videos, is when you look at his family crest and you look at a lot of the insignias that he wore, they depicted the Moor's head, or they would depict a black man that had a bandana wrapped around his head. So it would not make any sense. Why would a white man walk around with this insignia all on his clothes and his buckle on the banner above his house? He would use this logo in various different ways. It would just not make no sense unless this represented him and his family. This insignia represented him and his family. And that goes back to, you'll hear this dumb quote from White Scholars saying that those were servants that they depicted on those family crests and those insignias. And that wouldn't make sense. They would waste time and take out time to do that, like I keep saying over and over again. And just to backtrack, because I was trying to get through it, make sure I get through it on time. is, yes, he did poison his nephew. And this is something that was going on back then in European time, is that it didn't matter if it was black or white. A lot of these kings and queens did not want to relinquish their power. So they would do corrupt things to try to keep their power, because you got to understand, just like we talk about, power is something that corrupts people. Money, greed, power, that's something that corrupts people. And just to get back to the document, Ludovico was known as El Moro, or the Moor, from the definitions that have been presented from the literary works. The word Moor literally means black. Historical records state that the Moor's nickname was given to him from his blackness of his complexion. And when you go through the document, you'll see there's a screenshot from a historical record of his life, and it basically depicts what he looks like and his complexion. And the complexion describes the skin, and Ludovico was called the Moor because of his dark blackness of his skin. The comparison image shows the black king adoration scene with literally black skin, so black that it is difficult to distinguish it from his hair and his skin. And just a little side note, we all had people in our family, we had people that we grew up with that blue black. And that's basically what they're trying to depict, is that they so black, man, it's almost like they're like a purplish, or they're like a blue, where their hair blends in with their skin. And that's basically how they're describing how dark he was. So obviously they cannot be talking about a pale-faced person. Disputed historical narratives. Modern reinterpretation of 1945. He had this nickname for having introduced a cultivation of mulberry in the Lombard courtside. The modern author Alonso Vizito attempted to associate the blackness of the mulberry with the Moor. This explanation fails historically scrutiny, as the mulberry was already cultivated in Milan as early as the 14th century, in the time of Ludovico's maternal great-grandfather Gian Alonso Vizonte. So this is go back to what I was saying, is you will have scholars, and it'll be a modern reinterpretation. And this is what I like to tell people, is when I'm doing research or when I'm pulling different definition and meanings, is I like to go in that time. I don't like to research things in books and references that have been modern, that are from this day and time, because a scholar from this day and time does not know the history or the context of the words used 500 years ago. But if you go look at the scholars and the artists and the people of that time, and you use their definitions and their languages, you will have a more accurate depiction of history. And that is how you do real research in historical data. Is you have to use the sources from that time, because you got to understand that basically history is nothing but a record of people's lives, and the data comes from the people, and the first-hand account would come from the people. So the living data is the people. So if you don't have record and account of the people and description of the people in that time, then a lot of this data is just hearsay. Same thing with genealogy, is that the data is for somebody to say that, hey, I'm Cherokee. Well, the data to prove that, the living data to prove that, would be your ancestor. You would need to find your ancestor stating that they are this. Then you have the living data to date back. And then anything that happened in that year and time, you could attribute it to you, because you know that you were Cherokee, your grandma was Cherokee at that day and time. And that's how that works. And we're going to continue. Knights of the Golden Spur. The Knights of the Golden Spur were knights in the Roman Holy Empire, recognizable from the golden spurs that they were allowed to wear and was honored in knighthood. The Dukes of Milan continuously members of this knighthood. And in 1539, Pope Paul III even granted them privilege of appointing knights. And this goes back to what I was saying. There's a long history of so-called black knights or Moorish knights, and there's plenty of pictures, and we'll get deeper into that, of plenty of knights, and that's where the word knights come from, because the very first knights were dark-skinned people. And this is just, and I'll put a picture up, this is just explaining that history. There is also a painting of a woman in the profile of the National Portrait and Gallery in London. The gallery identifies a belt buckle she is wearing, and it is being possibly an allusion to Ludovico the Moor. The gallery states that on her belt are letters LO, and the image of the head of a Moor, a black African, in the profile, possibly an allusion to Ludovico el Moro, Duke of Milan, although it is not one of the usual emblems. Conclusion: there is much more literature that speaks of the darkness or blackness of Ludovico's complexion. With the date, location, symbols all in alignment, the evidence bears, and the Black King of Milanese adoration is Ludovico Maria Sforza, Duke of Milan. And the second person we're going to talk about is Francis I of France. Francis I was from the house of Villalayas Angoulême and ruled France as king in the first half of the 16th century. And you'll see throughout the different depictions, you'll see a picture of Francis I and what he looks like. The Black King depicted below is part of the adoration scene from the Book of Hours of Francis I. It is an illuminated manuscript on the parchment created in 1539 by the master Francois de Ron. Who is Francis I of France? Francis I was from the house of Villalayas Angoulême and ruled France as a king in the first half of the 16th century. He was an ambitious man and even tried to be elected as the Holy Roman Emperor, an effort that failed. His greatest opponent was the man that was elected emperor, Charles V, which we went over the history of Charles V and his family. The House of Habsburg. Charles' reign was a threat to France in general as a young king, as a ruler of the Netherlands and the Holy Roman Empire and the Kingdom of Spain, which was newly acquired from his father Philip the Handsome. This essentially surrounded France on all sides, Spain, Netherlands, and Germany. And just like we went over before, we talked about Philip the Handsome too, his father, Charles V's father. And if you don't know who that is, you can go to the video prior. Many conflicts transpired between Francis and Charles because of the perceived threat. After Francis' defeat in 1525 at the Battle of Pavia, he was taken prisoner by John of Brandenburg, Asbach of Viceroy Valia. The artwork to his right side of the Black King is the painting by Titan that is said to be depicted of Francis I, King of France. The depiction in this particular whitewashed painting is useful in the facial features that are still apparent. The likeness of the Black King and Francis I are apparent. Both have the same eyes and they have the same long apparent broad nose. The chins are both pushed out as far as the nose, and the cheeks are puffed out, and both mouths appear almost pushed if they sit beneath the nose. This is yet another rare case in which art forgers fail to stray far enough away from the authentic depiction of the European ruler. It is once again allowed for a compelling identification. Literally, depictions are related to Francis I. When Henry VIII of England met Francis I, Henry's historian Edward Hall described Francis as a goodly prince, stated as countenance, merry of cheer, brown colored, green eyes, high nose, big lip, fair breast and shoulders, small legs, and long feet. The History and Reign of Henry VIII by Sharon Turner, 1828. High nose was a term meant by a person that had a long nose. Fair breasts and shoulders meant a person that had a good-sized upper body, and brown color meant that they had brown skin. Literature has also said this of the king. The person in the middle is the black swarthy man with a sharp beard. like Francis I, and resembling neither of the Duke of Norfolk or Suffolk. Aqueducts of the painter of England, George Venture, 1762. Pierre de Baudelaire, Lord of Bretamore, said that the following when he described Francis, son Henry II of France. He looked slightly Moorish. The Century of the Renaissance by Louis Bouteille in 1916. Henry II reportedly had a very dark complexion. Yet again, we see a historical ruler was depicted in the Adoration of the Magi, or the Epiphany scene. This particular scene was the inside book of Hours, similar to the manuscript depicted of Leonhard von Laiming of the Book of Hours and Emperor Frederick III. This particular Book of Hours belonged to Francis I of France and depicted as one of the three kings was Francis himself. And just like I was saying before, and if you go back to Moors in Spain video, there's a video of that depiction of the Three Kings celebration, and you will see they still honor and celebrate that very depiction of itself today. And this is just a quick little breakdown of Francis I and the Adoration of the Magi of Francis I, and the historical documentation that proves that Francis I was a so-called black man, and they have many depictions and documentation stating that he was a person of color. And just like we ended off before, we're going to finish with Leonhard von Laiming, and we just talked about him in the ending of the Francis I document, if you were paying attention. And this following, if you look at the picture, the following depiction is the Adoration of the Magi scene of Austria, the Book of Hours. Same book that we were talking about with Francis I. The Book of Hours is a Christian book of texts, prayers, and psalms. It is the height of popularity, which was during the Middle Ages when the monarchs commissioned illustrations to create these devotions of books for them, with the fine details to fit the royalty. Illuminated manuscripts are books that contain painted illustrations decorated with gold and silver. Many manuscripts were created with animal skins, but for prime manuscripts, they would be illuminated voluming and was used, which were high quality parchment. Leonhard, the House of Laiming, was the Prince Bishop of Passau from 1424 until his death, 1451. He received a doctorate in canon, the law after studying in Vienna and Bologna. From 1400, he was a member of the clergy of Diocese of Passau and the Archdiocese of Salisbury. A bishop, he was promoted and reaffirmed Austrian and part of the Passau bishopric. The Black King depicted above is from the Adoration scene in the prayer book of the Emperor of Frederick III. It was created between 1445 and 1455 in Vienna, Austria. The Archdiocese of Vienna was established in 1469 from parts of Diocese of Passau. Archdiocese of Salzburg, the city of Vienna specifically, was under the ecclesiastical control of Prince of Bishop Passau until 1469. The whitewashed depiction of Leonhard von Laiming above is said to be from the 15th century. There are clear similarities in the facial features, who is said to be the African king and who is said to be the Prince Bishop of Passau. The face is virtually identical, with the exception that it has been whitewashed to hide the true race. Leonhard was the Imperial Chancellor to Emperor Frederick III, designated him to the part of the inner circle of the emperor. For these reasons, it can be concluded that the Black King in Viennese adoration is Leonhard von Laiming, Prince Bishop of Passau. And this will be just part one of the Adoration of the Magi. It'll be multiple parts of this series. This is just part one. There's something to give you. There's something to give you on this Monday, because I'm gonna try to keep consistent with posting videos every Monday at 3 o'clock at the same time. I'm trying to keep consistent with that as much as I can. I appreciate all the support on the last video, all the comments, all the emails, everything. People that like, comment, that watch that last video. I appreciate that. I really do, man. And y'all just be safe out here, man. If you got any comments, questions, or concern, or you need help or anything, hey, man, feel free to email me or just hit me up in the comments, man. Y'all be safe.